Welcome to Spot On Basics. I'm Rebecca Monet with Zorakle Profiles. Zorakle provides profiling tools to franchisors and franchise consultants that helps facilitate a right fit between a prospective franchisee and a franchise concept. The Zorakle tools are based on 7 statistically validated sciences. Today, I'd like to discuss the stages of growth of a franchise organization. More specifically, let's chat about stage 5, the hybrid franchisor. Before we get into that, however, let's ask a simple question. What determines franchisee-franchisor fit? Now, if you were a franchisor, what I would recommend you ask yourself is this prospect, does he or she share our values as a company? And if you're a franchise consultant, you'd be asking the same question. Does my prospective franchisee share the values of this franchise organization? And does my prospective franchisee fit within that franchisor's current stage of growth? Does he or she fit within the franchisor's culture? And is she or he able to comply with the franchisor's system? Once I sort of have those ducks in a row, I would then look into the skills of that prospective franchisee to see if those skills are what is necessary to grow that particular business. So we've talked about stage 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now we're talking about stage 5. Now, stage 5 is a franchisor that's gone one of two directions. It's either a very large company that is going through all the difficulties and challenges that were happening in stage 4 and has decided that they need to have greater profitability and to be more agile. So it could be the biggest company out there that then breaks up into smaller businesses. 20 years ago, some of you may have remembered, this is what Sears did. It was a massive retailer that got too laborious and kind of lost touch. And so they started to spin off franchises as well as some licensing programs. So you could get your carpet cleaned by a franchisee. You could have your house roofed by a licensee, or you could have your appliances repaired by a franchisee. So it's an empire business that has broken certain pieces of that business off and turned them into licensees or franchisees of some sort. So that's one way someone or a company might be what we would call a hybrid. Now there's another way, and the example I'm going to give here is the Neighborly brands. It's an umbrella brand that has either acquired other franchises, like what we see here with this news announcement. They've acquired these businesses, but it's now operating under an umbrella brand, so they share resources, giving them the stability, but they may be these various brands underneath the umbrella brands could be of various sizes. There could be a stage 2 in there, a stage 1 in there, or stage 3 underneath that umbrella brand. We would call Neighborly a stage 5 rather than a stage 4 because they are independent businesses operating underneath an umbrella. So if you recall, there are 5 main characteristics that we are looking at to determine if a franchisor is in stage 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. We're always going to look at the management style. We're going to look at the organizational structure. That's going to give us some clues to where they are. We're going to look at how formal the systems are, and we're going to look at what the major strategy is of that franchisor, and that will give us some clues. And then, of course, we're going to pay attention to how involved the concept originator is, because that's going to change as the franchisor evolves. So a stage 5 franchisor is focusing on getting back in touch with the end user, increasing communication, increasing innovation, bringing back an entrepreneurial or entrepreneurial spirit. So it's a reset button that a franchisor has hit. Now, what they are focusing on also is on leveraging relationships, resources, and history. History, of course, they're probably one of the biggest brands out there. They got incredible shared resources, and now they're looking at leveraging relationships in the marketplace. So things aren't as heavy on them, but instead they're building partnerships out in the marketplace. These partnerships could be going concerns that they are now going to partner with and provide their products and services alongside whatever that other business might be. Hewlett Packard did this in South Africa and in Europe, partnering with value-added franchisees that were already in other businesses, but that are now also providing our products and services. So the major strategy of a stage 5 hybrid franchisor is on this entrepreneurial spirit and to basically enliven and renew the brand in one way or another. So lots of benefits to the franchisee that comes on board in stage 5. Clearly, there's already brand awareness. Clearly, there's great training and support. Clearly, there's all kinds of resources we can leverage. But at the same time, we don't have this bogged down bureaucratic feeling that we may have had in stage 4. Things are much more flexible in stage 5 than what we saw in late stage 3 or in stage 4. So for a franchisee that comes into a stage 5, there is a great reduction in risk simply because the systems are in place, the resources are in place, the brand has proven itself. So there's going to be this fast growth that can be expected if a franchisee chooses to join a stage 5 franchise system. So some of the challenges, of course, that a stage 5 company is going to encounter is there is a potential that the market where a franchisee is interested, it may already be saturated. There may be no markets available. And because it's still kind of a 4 turning into a 5, it's not as fast as what you would see in a 1, 2, or 3. So you may be in a hybrid franchise organization, an umbrella brand, and you may be in with a franchise system underneath that umbrella that is a 2 or a 3, but it's not going to be as fast and decisive and as agile as if you were just in a stage 2 or stage 3. So you are in a stage 3 maybe, but it's under an umbrella brand of 5. So it's going to slow things down just a little bit. So the challenges, of course, is balancing stability, which is what the 4 offered us, with flexibility. And it's always going to be kind of a yin and yang, back and forth, that franchisor is going to be experiencing. So one of the other challenges that the franchisor might be experiencing is in stage 3 and stage 4, there was more of a top-down kind of management style and structure. And now we are in a 5, and it's more a side by side. We're thinking again more like what we thought when we were true partners. And so if the leadership remains from stage 4 into stage 5, corporate may be losing some employees simply because they themselves as employees may not be as comfortable in this more dynamic place that a stage 5 is going to be. So looking at it from the eyes of Ellie Grenner and Neil Churchill, again, from small to large and young to more mature, what are some of the ways that a stage 5 could continue to grow, because it's kind of the best of all worlds, right? We got the hunter instinct back, we got that entrepreneurial energy, but we got these great resources and lots of stability. Wouldn't we want to stay in that place as long as we possibly could in this stage 5? So naturally, the way that we are going to stay in 5 as a franchisor is to continue to collaborate. When we stop thinking like partners, when we stop thinking as collaborators, when we stop listening to our end users and our franchisees, and the growth is going to slow down. It's in that collaboration that innovation comes out of it. And to stay in 5, we must remain in a place where we're balancing innovation with stability, And that requires a solid collaboration to continue in that way. So the crisis, of course, is one that's going to come when we are no longer collaborating, when we are once again falling prey to this idea that we have to control everything as franchisors. So the crises could be one that is related to saturation, or it could be a crisis of control if we fall back into that, or it could be a crisis of leadership where we're getting our eyes off the ball. So it could be a number of different things once you get to stage 5. More likely than not, it will be a crisis of saturation, or a crisis where we are not truly collaborating and delegating the way we should. But if we've successfully navigated through 2 and 3, that likely is going to be less of a challenge. So let's look at a couple of examples. So here's a prospect that scored in a stage 3 and in a hybrid. Now, if I was a franchise consultant and looking at this, I would be looking at an umbrella brand with various size companies underneath that brand, a stage 5 franchise system or a stage 3. I would not be looking for a mega brand that was breaking up, like a Sears, or a Sendent would be another good example. On the other hand, with this example, where we have a stage 4 and a 5, now we could choose either direction. It could be that massive organization, again, using Sendent as an example, which had all of these financial institutions and real estate brands and travel brands and hotel brands, that it was the biggest in that particular vertical. So this candidate could fit within that kind of situation, or a Sears and the various components. And at the same time, he or she could also fit into a umbrella brand like we see with the Neighborlies and home franchise concepts and the outdoor livings as an example. And I'm sure you guys can think of other examples. So let's look at a mismatch. Okay, so this is a Eclipse report, what the franchisor gets. And we see that this particular franchisor is a plug and play, a stage 3 franchise organization. We can see that by the lighter gray dot in that upper row of dots. And then the prospect is scoring as a 4 and a 5. So this would be a mismatch. This is a prospect that is further along or needs a much bigger, much more mature organization than we are as a franchise system as a stage 3. So this would be a mismatch at 75%. We would be very cautious about bringing this prospective franchisee on board, or at minimum, we would manage his or her expectations and let her know or him know that we are in stage 3, and there are certain things that stage 4 and 5 can do that we are not going to do or not ready to do. So again, it's all about that franchisee, franchisor match and that fit, right? A good fit is a franchisee that's going to validate better, retain better, cost less to train and support. But most importantly, of course, it's someone that's going to embrace the system and ultimately perform well. So I hope you enjoyed this series of Stages of Growth training. Feel free at any point to reach out to any of us at the Zorakle Profiles team. We're here to support you and make sure that you are finding right fit franchisees for your concept.